Welcome everyone, today we have a very special guide for Diablo 4, and this video is aimed to help you prepare for the open beta. So what's going to happen in this video is, it will be broken down into two parts. I'll be sharing you guys with a lot of tips and also guides which I come up with after the first beta release of the weekend. So there's a lot of ways about disconnecting and how to queue faster, how to restart things, and how to just get through the game without disconnecting. There are some very important things I want to share with you guys, for example how to avoid the air war and don't get disconnected. How can you avoid laggy servers and what you should do before you disconnect. On the second part of the video, I also want to share with you guys some of the in-game tips and some tricks I discovered through my first play with the first beta. So there's a lot of things you can do to save yourself a lot of time, including when to level up, how do you exit dungeons, and what you can do to reset dungeons or getting more skill points or getting more actives, and also kill monsters very fast in the early stage of the leveling. So a lot of tips I want to share with you guys, and that's why I really want to get this video out before the beta so you can get the most out of it and save hours of gaming time. Because you really don't want to disconnect, you really don't want to waste time running around and not knowing the best way to save time in the beta. So coming over to the first part of the video, the first thing you're going to notice when you join the beta, and hopefully this is not too long, is that you might experience a login queue on the first day. So let's go through some of my tips and some advices. The first thing you really want to do is, if you plan to play right when the server starts, you want to queue right away. And this is when you might expect a shorter queue time. If you queue maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, you might be expecting a 30 to 60 minute wait time. And this can be very long. Now, one thing to notice as you experience the wait time is that the actual wait time of the real time is actually a little different to the waiting time. If you see a waiting time of 60 minutes, maybe it only takes about 35 minutes in real life to wait for it. So make sure you don't go away for 60 minutes and find yourself coming back and the game already started and maybe you're AFK for too long. Now, there is also another option to play the game by avoiding the peak hour of the game. Right when the server starts, I believe it is in the PM time, in the afternoon time for the US servers. And if you do wait for 7 to 10 hours after, this is when the peak hour goes away. And this is when the waiting time will be much shorter. So for Asian players like me, it is really good to wait a little bit and, to wait it out a little bit to get a shorter queue time. And for me, with the server starts at 3 AM, sometimes I can't sleep and I started playing at the 3 AM for the server start. Now, there is also one other advice for getting a quicker queue time. It is when the server starts, make sure you try to log in 5 to 10 minutes before to see if the server starts a few minutes earlier. If you can get the queue right away and get into the server, then you don't have to expect a huge amount of queues. So you can either try to queue up right away when the server starts or a little earlier, or avoid the peak time for the best experience for the beta. Now, of course, there are some common tips like preload the game and also make sure you download the game. One thing to notice is sometimes before the open beta, there is a last minute update. So make sure you come over to the Battle.net and start updating this before everybody else. And we should be doing this before the game starts. Now, there is also another point that I really want to stress out. It is that you really want to restart your Battle.net before the actual 4 PM GMT time when open beta starts. This is because for me on the first week, I didn't know about this. My Battle.net was open for hours and I was waiting for 30 minutes and couldn't get into the game. I thought it was a daylight saving thing, or maybe it was just Australia that we can't get in. And it turns out you have to restart your Battle.net. So make sure you guys download and also pre-download and also download all the updates before the beta and then restart your Battle.net. And this is really important right when the server starts. Now, after you manage to get into the game, if you experience a lot of lag and a lot of delays, one thing you want to notice is you want to avoid the main city. The main city is a city you travel to right away, and the main city have almost a lot of NPCs and a lot of quests and a lot of things. But one thing you want to do is you don't want to get disconnected on the peak hour after getting in, or maybe you don't want to disconnect, after queuing up for like half hour. For me, I was disconnecting 2 times in the main city, simply because it was too many players and it's too laggy, and I keep coming back to the main city to sell stuff. And what you want to do is, you want to manually teleport onto a smaller city. If you're selling stuff, repairing, or if you're doing things, try to avoid the main city as much as you can. Now, I know there will be quests that will take you to the main city, and often enough, when you go for Pava, which is the priestess lady NPC, you might hit yourself an air wall. This is when your character cannot go further onto a part of the map. And when this happens multiple times, guys, if you keep trying to work, you can't work there, make sure you stop doing this, because if you keep doing this, you'll get disconnected. So this happened to me the first time. I keep trying to work through the air wall, and then I got disconnected, and then I have to wait for 90 minutes. But the second time this happened to me, I quickly stopped trying to run into the wall, I teleported into a smaller town, and I think some part of my server got reconnected, and I was able to keep playing the game in the server. So very important guys, do not try to bump yourself into the air walls, and make sure you teleport away from this place, this like a hazard zone, before you get disconnected. Now finally, if you do find yourself in a very laggy server and also maps that you're not having a good time because you can't really cast spells and it's really laggy, especially on the first day of beta, make sure you have some Battle.net friends that you can, help each other out. You can teleport to their server if they invite you to their party, and then you can join their world. And sometimes this helps me to fix the lags. And other times, if they're really laggy, they can also come to your server. You can also be trading items and also, trading gold and also gems to help each other for the build. For example, some of the build like the mages or maybe the rogues, they don't need the thorn build. While the barbarians and also the necromancers, you can make the thorn build. So you could be trading your gems to help each other out. Now coming over to the second part of the video, I also have some in-game tips and also tricks I discovered and I really want to share with you guys. The first thing is, I don't have the beta available right now, but I want to make this before, right? So during recording, I can't actually show you guys exactly what to press in the game. But if you go open map, and if you use the right click mouse button on the map, you will start a target. And this will allow you to have the shortest path presented to you on the minimap. This is really good for traveling, and you really want to try this as you get to places. My second tip is that you really want to use a emote for quest. By pressing E, you can start emote. And if you scroll with a mouse wheel, you can actually get more emotes. This is for questing. And also keep an eye out, because as you play dungeons and you want to teleport out of the dungeon, you might not want to teleport back into town and run all the way back, right? So to teleport out of dungeon, by pressing E, which is the emote button, there will be an icon which allows you to exit dungeon. This is very helpful. And I didn't know this until much later of the game. I was teleporting away, wasting so much time running around. On the topic of the dungeon, you can also press J from the quest journals, and then this will help you to reset the dungeon. This is usually for farming for dungeons in which you don't want to kill the boss, so after killing most of the monsters, you press J and reset the dungeon and get teleported outside of the dungeon. This is actually a really good method. I want to make a guide for you guys on the best dungeon to farm for legendaries and also gold. Now as you guys know, Diablo 4 will have dungeons and monsters scaling with our character's level. But there will be some zones, especially the stronghold, that will have a minimum level for the monsters. And most of the zones, especially the Marmok, the first dungeon that you can find for the stronghold, that is. So the first stronghold you can find have a minimum level of 15, and usually this scales by one level higher than your character's level. What I recommend doing is, although the dungeon scales with your level, in the early games, if you come across dungeons next to you on the minimap which are really close, make sure you clear them, because this will get you closer to level 14 and also level 15. And as you travel next to the first stronghold, which I'll give you guys a map very soon, you can then come over to the stronghold and then save your time backtracking. You can clear the stronghold, do more dungeons and also get your renown points faster instead of coming back later. So if we come over to this map, I think the stronghold is located where my mouse is circling over here down here. The map is a little awkward. I forgot to take a map from the beta. So it is where my mouse is, around over here. And it is really good to clear this stronghold for additional experience and also for the renown. Now, one of the fastest way for me to clear out dungeons and also level up really fast was that I was able to discover certain items that provided a skill that is not available to my current level. So for example, I was playing a level 10 rogue and I had this particular item, I believe is a helmet, that provided with a shadow imbuement. At the time, I have to wait for level 15 to get this item, but at level 10 with a shadow imbuement, I can deal massive burst damage and everything just disappears in front of me. So what that means is, if you get an item with plus skill rank and you equip the item, you can cast the spell for free, even though you never level this spell up. And this happens extremely good for certain damage spells. So if you find any skill rank items, try to open your hotkey. So on the skill bar function, you can press A to open the hotkey, and then you can also press S. So both of those hotkeys will allow you to open and also assign your free spells. So make sure you check those after getting those items. And this is such a massive boost. Now, as you play through the beta, you're going to discover some of the open events, especially the random events, are not worth the time. Especially one I want to highlight is going to be the one that you kill the vampire. He's going to summon a lot of little vampires, it's really annoying to kill. After you're killing 10 of them, you have to kill the boss. And after that, there's a chance of not getting a chest for that event. So it's a really big time waster. So try to avoid quests like those or events like those. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard of the world boss, so just a reminder guys, I'll have a countdown timer for you as well, for the countdown timer for the world boss. Make sure you do this when you're playing the game, because for about 15 minutes, you get 3 to 4 legendaries. And if it's your first time doing the boss this week, you also get 3 to 4 bonus legendaries. So this is really good for the world boss. I have the countdown timers ready for you guys, but do keep in mind, I do think the countdown timer is a little off. Sometimes it's 1 hour off, it's 1 hour too early, because of the daylight saving. Now finally, for my last tip, if you're trying to speed run certain dungeons and also maps, and you're grouping monsters and also kiting them, and leaving behind traps and damage and also summons. So when you kill those monsters like this, it's actually really efficient. But also make sure you check and also listen for special ding sound. This is because legendaries can be dropped and they can appear outside of the map. And when you open your minimap, if you see a star like a brown star on your map, go back to it for legendary. So this is really good because these items can be dropped across multiple screens, especially if you leave behind summons and also traps. Now hopefully you guys find those tips helpful, because for me as I play the first beta, there's a lot of time wasted in disconnecting, a lot of time reconnecting, a lot of time not knowing what to do, and also too laggy to play. So I really want to make those guides for you guys. And also all the tips and tricks I discovered through the game I want to share with you guys. So let's have the best time in beta, and fingers crossed we don't have to wait for too long. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.